Hi, this is going to be really off the cuff, kind of a discussion about nothing and everything. But at the outset, I would like to talk about some relevant issues. Now, as we all know, there's this division and bickering going on back and forth between everyone, and supposedly I started it all and whatever. Uh, these differences were always there. I just pointed them out. I've said this before, but that should be glaringly apparent to everyone. But I want to just advocate essentially, apart from my own lowercase L libertarianism, my political atheism, and I think in the future it would behoove us all, those who are not obsessed with the politics of it all, of these men of issues pertaining to men's rights and the like, to just move on and do our own thing. Um, I think uh, we essentially, and I'm guilty of it myself, gotten caught up in this whole discussion about the left and the right and all of this stuff, these issues that are, to me, not as important as exploring human nature, male and female, and trying through thoughts and discussion and just throwing ideas out there, coming to some synthesis or conclusion about it all and trying to find some kind of solution, which may or may not come. But getting caught up in the whole left-right thing is just, and I've been guilty of it as well, kind of a waste of time. I think in the future, I can't promise it. I can't promise really anything of the sort, but I will do my best. I'll endeavor to do my utmost to not talk about these sorts of these political things. To be quite honest, they're of such secondary. I'm basically a political atheist. Yeah, I have obviously political philosophical beliefs, but I don't want to get mired down in it all. And I think I wouldn't say wasted a lot of time, but I spent a lot of time doing it. And I think some others have been doing it as well. And I think it would behoove us all to not get too caught up in it for a couple of reasons. And I know Barbaros is going to watch this, and I consider, I'd probably say, there's no secret that I consider Barbaros my closest ally and someone I basically 85 to 90% of my beliefs line up with, especially with regards to men's rights issues. That um, so I will address this personally to him, and this will be a response to this. That I'm certainly not going to resort to name calling the other side, but the fact is that I do think the MRAs and the people uh, who are obsessed with the political aspect of these things, usually, the right is right and the left is, well, wrong, and all of this stuff, they're so mired down in political ideology and just obsessed with it that having discussions about it is fruitless. Um, you're not going to have a public concession on the part of anyone who's hanging out in the swamp of the right is right and the left is wrong side of camp of side of the issues make a public confession or concession saying, look, I was wrong about that. You made a valid point. I mean, it's just not going to happen. There are a lot of reasons for that. Well, for one thing, um, a person would lose credibility. I personally have no issues conceding that I'm wrong, even publicly, if I can see I've made an actual error in my reasoning or my judgment. But people who are political ideologues are not going to do that. And I'm not describing anyone in particular. I'm just making a general statement. So I've come to the conclusion for myself, at least, that I'm just not going to be addressing any of these things anymore. This whole left-right thing, and uh, I think we've established beyond a doubt, at least to those who are willing to listen and those who are open-minded enough, um, that the right or traditionalism, or however you want to term it, does have some pretty hefty inherent misandric properties. And the only people who don't agree with it are obviously people on that side and people who aren't willing to listen. And whilst I think it's really important to beat a dead horse on some issues, it's very clear that this division has always been here, and we're all examining very different things here. Certainly, people who, Barbara Ross and myself, who are looking at things from more of a human nature perspective versus it's all political and cultural. I just say let them do their thing. I'm a bit weary of this ongoing discussion about the political stuff because I feel like, for one thing, at least for me, I certainly want my videos to be a help to men going their own way and men who just decide to operate in a more detached manner regarding relationships and the like. And I know myself, me constantly uh, making videos about, the right this and traditionalism this. I think made my point fairly well, and I'm just not going to keep on making videos. And so I hereby declare essentially my political atheism. I'm just not. I just don't want to keep on doing that because it's a never-ending battle. I really think that anyone who's so entrenched in a certain political ideology is just you're not going to have a discussion with them and have them concede anything that they or any point that they might be wrong on. Now, I see this manifested, for example, the simple fact that very prominent MRA of the right is right and the left is Satan camp is now officially calling us people who don't adhere to that radicals, just like the feminists and leftists, even though tons of evidence has been brought to the fore that we're certainly not leftist. I mean, neither Barbarossa nor I are leftists. You can look at the entire body of my work, and you won't see that. And you can look at every freaking video he's made, and you won't see that either. But we're still getting called that. We're called radicals because supposedly we're trying to destroy the family and what have you. And then when we point to the fact that we're not similar to feminists in the sense that we're not making appeals to the state, we're not using state power to manipulate things, we don't want anything to do with the state in that regard, and tons of other examples, constantly naming these examples, explaining them. The name calling, the radical this and the right, it just doesn't stop. So, you know, I say just let them live in their own world, whatever. To be perfectly honest, I don't really want anything to do with that. I'm certainly not going to resort and never will to name calling. That's just not my style, and it would, I feel, denigrate my person. But I'm kind of, I personally want to just push past this whole just arguing about the left-right thing because I think anyone, like I said, with a bit of reason who has been willing to listen has has seen the arguments. They've either accepted them as valid, and I think they are valid, or they haven't. And the people who haven't, most likely, for the most part, will be the people who are in the right is right and left is Satan, and we need to defeat Satan camp. And you know, that's just the way it is. They're always going to be political ideologues. I mean, you get them on the left as well, and you hear it, about the right being all evil. And I just don't want to get caught up in all that. I think, at least for myself, I can perform a much greater service to MRAs, men going their own way, men who are just open-minded about this stuff by focusing on things that I personally find important, and less so on those kinds of issues. Because I kind of view it at this point in time as they just have we're just doing totally different things. It's very obvious too that these people look down on men going their own way because they're constantly talking about the MGTOW manifesto I mean, manifesto kind of sounds like the communist manifesto. I don't like talking about manifestos, and they can't accept the fact that men going their own way have sort of redefined themselves without adhering to some official proclamation made a while back by a certain bunch of people. That it's very obvious that they view men going their own way as some kind of certainly negative, inferior to the DNA propagation methodology and all that junk. I just have no interest in participating in that anymore. It's just a total waste of time. So because it's very clear now who I mean, based on the comments I read, who's on I hate to use this term, what on what side and who's on the other side. It's pretty clear. I mean, you get the people who think it's all political, and they're going to stay in that camp, and they can call us radicals all they want. I know I'm not going to change their mind, and I'm not going to try to. And like I said, political ideologues will never admit, at least publicly, that they're wrong about anything. Especially when you have a very set in stone idea that everything the right does is correct and everything the left does is not correct. And it just comes down to that. And that cultural Marxism is the catalyst and the origin, the source, and basically um, the maker of the universe, if you want to go that far. I mean, it explains everything, cultural Marxism. Uh, I hear all the time how women have just been duped essentially by cultural Marxism and what have you. Um, and they don't, and then the other camp on the other also doesn't listen to the arguments. Now, people, I've been accused of only talking about female nature as inherently bad or what have you, and yet I've made several videos talking about some of the bad qualities we men have, and mostly to do with our incessant need to propagate our DNA and chase females and club each other to death in the process. So that's also bollocks. I've never said any that. I've never exclusively said that it's only bad female nature. I've said that we too suffer from our own self-perception of our disposability. So it's basically just cherry picking and just no interest in any of that anymore, in dealing with that. The the belief system there is just so far off from mine in virtually every respect. The only thing I have in common with these people, I guess, loosely speaking, might be with regards to some economic policies, maybe. And yeah, I mean I can't think of anything else because I don't. They I do feel very strongly that tacitly or otherwise, they think disposability is not so much an issue. That, as I said, disposability light, that as I would call it, that is, well, kind of what it comes down to. And I just want to wash my hands of all that. And go forward and start doing new stuff. So that's what I'm planning on doing. So in the future, just throwing some ideas out there. I'm considering doing some I talked to a guy via PM, considering doing some maybe biographies of some earlier examples of men going their own way. I want to do some other biographies of some other people who've written interesting books on related topics. I want to talk about technology and its effects on society, as well as men and women, and how that's changed the interaction. And I'd finally can't seem to find the time, like to get around to translating a bunch of good MRA videos into German. So that's kind of on my list to do things. I have no idea if I'll get them done. I have a lot of things to do at the moment, much more so than usual, and it might be that way for a while. But like I said, um, I think I don't want to lose more time going on about the left and right, because you know what? That's their thing. That's their shtick. If they want to keep on doing that, which they will, because that's all they talk about, uh, they're free to do so. And I certainly want to agree with Barbarossa here about this notion that you know singular MRAs on YouTube are supposed to present solutions for the entirety of human civilization. It's kind of silly, and I even made a video specifically addressing this. But on the other hand, a simple, cultural Marxism is the source of all evil, and the reason why everything's so messed up, and the left is a product of that. And we on the right are infallible and what have you, or maybe not infallible, but we certainly have all the principles down. That's going to kind of appeal to that kind of audience who's looking for that simple solution to everything, one shoe size fits all kind of stuff. People who want to keep it real and who understand that concept know that there aren't going to be really simplistic solutions to a lot of these issues, and we got to just deal with it on an individual basis, and one by one try to crack our way at these problems. But one size fits all solutions are probably not going to be part of that. I can't imagine if they ever would be. They never seem to be. They haven't been in history, so they always have too many negative consequences. So, like I said, let them call us names, let them call us radicals. I just don't care anymore. I'm just done with them. I'm not going to, like I said, go do the same thing by calling them names. But the people who know who they are, and I'm just done with that. Anyway, hope I'm not coming down with a cold here. But yeah, that's all I had to say, and hopefully there'll be some nicer, more coherent videos in the not too distant future. And thanks for watching.